Today about jazz chords, how to make the jazz chords, and what scales to play over them in jazz. So we're going to start off with our basic ones. Hopefully you have an understanding of basic triads. I mean, I'll go over that, but that's a good way to memorize how these chords work, and I'll talk about it. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. I'll talk about some alternate symbols for them. But once you get the fundamentals down of this, a lot of it carries over into other chords that have weird extensions. I'll make a whole video on extensions, but for right now, we're just dealing with the basics. We're doing everything in C, so our root will be C. So we have no key signature, so you can really see how I'm altering the major scale to get these scales. Okay? So our first scale, our first chord is going to be a C major 7 right here. Okay, now this is going to have its basic triad is going to be a C major triad, so that's going to be C, and then we go up 4 half steps. We get an E natural, and then 3 half steps to get a G. So there's a C major triad. But what about this 7th? Well, this is going to have a major 7th, and a major 7th is a half step below the root. So if our root is C, a half step below C is a B natural. Okay, so there's our major triad. It sounds like this. C, E, G, B natural. Okay, now other ways to think about this, so we can think about it as a root and then four half steps plus 3 half steps plus 4 half steps. Or you can think about it as a root and then you go up a minor third, or a major third, a minor third, and then a major third. Now what scale do we play over this? Well, we were going to play a major scale. And since we're in C, we're going to play a C major scale. Okay, now just a couple things on this scale. This scale degree 4 can sound kind of weird over this. So if I play it, you can see how that's kind of weird. So a lot of times we just use the 4th scale degree as a passing tone, and we don't really sit on it. We can sit on the other ones, but just watch out for that 4th one. Sometimes what people do is they'll raise this 4th scale degree up and make a Lydian scale. That would sound like this. We'll see another example of when to use the Lydian scale, but sometimes people use Lydian scales over major 7s. Okay, our next one is going to be a C7 or a C dominant. Again, it's going to have a major triad as its base triad, so C, E, G. We already talked about that. But now it's instead of a major 7th, it's going to have a minor 7th. And a minor 7th is a whole step below the root. So if our root is C, a whole step below C is not B natural, it's B flat. Okay, so this chord sounds like this. C, E, G, B flat. Okay, what scale can we play over this? Well, it's going to be very similar to the C major scale, except we're going to take the 7th scale degree and we're going to lower it a half step. So we have what's called a C Mixolydian scale, or a C dominant. It's a major scale with a flat 7. So it sounds like this. Okay, over the dominant chord, there it is. And then, so that's how we play over our dominant chords. Take whatever the root scale is, major scale, and lower the 7th. The way we can think about this chord is we have our root, and then we have 4 plus 3. That gives us our major triad, and then you go up 3 half steps to get that minor 7th, or you would go major third from the root, and then a minor third, and then a minor third. Okay, next is our C minor 7 chord. So our bass triad is going to be a minor. We still have C, the root and the 5th are the same, but now instead of an E natural, which is our major third, we're going to have an E flat, which is our minor third. And our 7th is not going to be a B natural major 7th, it's going to be a B flat minor 7th. So this chord sounds like this. C, E flat, G, B flat. Okay, the way to think about that is, or to build it, is you go from your root, you go up 3 steps for a minor third, and then go up a major third from that, 4 steps, and then a minor third up from that. And that builds our minor chord. Or you can think about it as a minor third, major third, then a minor third up from the root. What scale do you play over this? Well, here's our major scale. This is not what we're going to play over a minor chord. Okay, now we know that our third note of our scale has to be lowered because it's minor. That'll be the same for all minor scales. The second and the fourth and the fifth remain the same. Now, for our natural minor scale, we would lower our 6th and our 7th. But in jazz, we don't play natural minor over these C minor 7s. We play Dorian Minor, which has a raised scale degree 6. Sounds like this. Okay, so 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, raised 6th, flat 7, root. Okay, that's the C minor 7, and you're playing Dorian over that. Okay, so these 3 are our bread and butter that most of the other chords are based around, and then we just can make slight alterations to them to get the scales and the chords that we want. Now let's go into a couple of little extended ones. C major 7, sharp 11. So it's going to be the same chord as our C major 7. So we have our major 7th, we have a major triad, except now we're going to add scale degree 11, which is scale degree 4, but it's going to be raised a half step. Okay, so that's our sharp 11. There's our major chord, major 7 chord, and then we add sharp 11. It's a really nice chord, one of my favorites. What are we going to play over this? Well, you might already guess because I kind of talked about it. Here's our major scale. But now since scale degree 11 or scale degree 4 is raised up, we're also going to raise it up in this scale. And this makes what's called the Lydian scale. So it's a major scale with a sharp 4. Okay, and that's what we would play over C major 7, sharp 11. Okay. The next chord we're going to talk about is a C half diminished. Now, this can also be written, it's got our little circle for diminished, except it's got a slash through it. This is going to be also known as a C minor 7 flat 5. So instead, it'll be just like our C minor 7 chord, except instead of that regular 5th, we're going to have a flat 5th. So we're going to lower our 5th by a half step. So let's build this chord. C is the root. Then we're going to have a minor third. So E flat, we go up 3 half steps. And then a flat 5th. So this is a diminished triad. So the base of this is a diminished triad, but now we got to add our 7th, and this is going to have a minor 7th on it. Okay, so a whole step below the root, so a B flat. And the way we can think about this chord is it's a root, and then we go up 3 to the minor third, so root, up 3 steps to an E flat, and then up 3 more to make that diminished, and then we're going to go up a major third, so 4 steps, and this is a C half diminished chord. Okay? And that's the same exact thing for over here. So we're just going to copy that, because C minor 7 flat 5 and C half diminished are the same chord. Now, what scales do we play over this? Well, there's a couple options. Usually we're going to see this chord only in minor 2/5s, and I'll make a whole video on how to play over minor 2/5s and how to think about that. But if you just see this chord standing on its own and it's kind of extended, here's what you have. You have 2 options of what to play. So we're going to start off with our major scale. This is not what you're going to play over it. what you can do is you can play what's called a Locrian mode, and that's the 7th mode of a major scale. So you start on scale degree 7, or treat the root as if it was scale degree 7 of a major scale. Here's another way to think about it. We lower scale degree 2. We can lower scale degree 3, right, because this is a minor triad. It's actually a diminished triad, so we know scale degree 5 is going to be lowered as well, because we're always going to have the chord tones from the chord in the scale we're using, and we know that this is going to be our little half-diminished, our minor 7 that we have on our half-diminished. Okay, so 1, flat 2, flat 3. Scale degree 4 is regular. We have our flat 5, and then scale degree 6 is going to be lowered, and scale degree 7 is also lowered. So this is our Locrian mode. It sounds like this. Let me hold on. Let me read it. Okay, so over this chord, let me play it out. Okay, so that's our Locrian scale that we can play over this. I'm going to copy this over because there's only one note difference between the other option we can choose, and this is called our Locrian sharp 2. So we're just going to raise scale degree 2. So instead of this D flat, we're going to play a D natural. Now that'll sound like this. Yeah. Okay, so here's that chord with the scale. I played a flat 2 on the way down. Okay, so that's what we can play over half-diminished. Over fully diminished. And usually, so this, I made a little bit of an error when I made this. There we go. That just circle stands for diminished triad. When it has a 7th, after just the circle without a slash through it, that's a fully diminished 7. Okay, so this one is going to be, it's a nice symmetrical one, easy to remember. Root, minor 3rd, another minor 3rd, and then, it's not letting me do the double flat. How do I do that? Give me another flat. Okay, well, that's supposed to be a B double flat. Why isn't that an option? Let's try this. There we go. Okay, so this is our fully diminished chord. C, E flat, G flat, B double flat. Now it has to be called a B because it's the 7th, but it's our diminished 7th. So our major 7th is a half step below the root, our minor 7th is a whole step below the root, and our diminished 7th is 3 steps below the root. We call that an augmented second. Okay, it's a little nasty, but that's how it goes. Now this is really easy to remember because it's just root and then minor 3rd, minor 3rd, minor 3rd, or 3, 3, 3. So 3 steps, 3 steps, 3 steps. And the cool thing about this chord is it's symmetrical. If I start on another one of these notes and do the same pattern, it's the same notes in the chord. It's just moved around. So since it's symmetrical, we can play our symmetrical scales on this. So let's go C. We're going to play an octatonic scale on this one. And there's 2 options for our octatonic scale. We can do whole step, half step, repeating whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, or we can start with a half step and go whole step. Half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole. I'm going to do whole half. So I go whole step, then a half step, and then a whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step from G flat gives me an A flat, and then a half step takes me to B double flat, and then this is wonky for writing purposes, but a whole step would take me to a B natural, and this sounds like this. Okay. A lot of times the best option for these is to sort of arpeggiate it. I like to do like patterns since it's symmetrical. Stuff like that. But if you want to know how to solo over it, you can use this octatonic scale. Okay? And our last one is our C7 that we're going to look at today. There's plenty more chords. Is a C7 flat 5. Okay? So we have our root, major third, a flat fifth, and then since it's a C7, it's going to have a flat seventh on it, like all C7s do. And this chord's going to sound like this. Okay. So, what do we play over the C7 flat 5? Well, it's nice we can play a whole tone scale. So that's all whole steps. So C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F sharp, which is actually, I'm going to write it as a G flat, and then that G flat goes to A flat, and the A flat to a B flat, and then to a C. Sounds like this. Nice whole tone scale over this chord. So listen to it. And since the whole tone scale is symmetrical, we can kind of come up with these whole tone patterns and move them around, right? Okay? So let's recap. Our first chord, C major 7th. So it's a major triad, and then with a major 7th, half step below the root. And over that, we can play a major scale. Watch out for scale degree 4. Okay. Next chord is a C7 or a C dominant. This is super common in jazz, and we can play our Lydian Scale over it. So C dominant, and we're going to play the Lydian Scale, which is a major scale with a flat 7. Okay, then we go into our minor 7th, another super common one. So it's a minor triad with a minor 7th, a whole step below the root. And we play a Dorian minor scale. So it's a minor scale, natural minor scale with a raised 6th, or you can think about it as a major scale with a flat 3 and a flat 7. Okay, those are the three you absolutely have to know. Most of the rest of them are based off of those. Okay, major 7, dominant, and C minor, and minor 7. Okay, moving over, our C major 7 sharp 11, a major triad with a major 7th, and then scale degree 11 is also scale degree 4, but it's raised up a half step. Okay, so let's play this, the Lydian scale. So it's a major scale with a sharp 4. Oop, there it is. Okay, our half-diminished. Whoa, we've gone crazy. Where are we? Half-diminished is going to be a diminished triad with a minor 7th, a whole step below the root. Okay, and we can play our Locrian scale, or we can play our Locrian sharp 2 scale. So here's the Locrian scale. Root, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, root. So I like that one better than the Locrian Sharp 2, but that's just me. That's the preferred one. And then the Locrian Sharp 2 is the same scale, except instead of scale degree 2 being lowered, we raise it back up. So. And that's a half-diminished chord. It's either written with a circle and a slash, or it's written, I copied it over and I wrote it. It's also written as minor 7 with a flat 5. Oh, come on, you can find that. All right, let's find it. It's in here. Oh, it's M7. So you can write just an M. There it is. For a lowercase m for minor. And you can write an uppercase M for major. There's a lot of different ways to write these chords. Sometimes you write just a dash for minor and the triangle for major. There's a lot of ways to write these. Okay, now we move into our diminished chord. It's symmetrical. It's just minor third. So root, minor third, minor third, minor third. And that one can move around like an E flat diminished chord has the same notes as a C diminished chord. Okay, and we can play our symmetrical octatonic scale over this. And we can start with a half step like I just did there, or you can start with a whole step. Whole half, whole half, whole half, or half whole, half whole, half whole. Here's the half whole. Okay? And then C7 flat 5 is going to be a C7 chord, except I'm going to lower the 5th a half step. Okay, and we can play our whole tone scale over this. And again, this is symmetrical, so we can do all kinds of patterns on this. It's a really cool chord. All right, and so those are your basics of jazz chords. Again, these first three, I'm going to highlight them, are the ones that you absolutely have to know. Okay, so you got to start learning your major scales, your dominant scales, and your Dorian minor scales. Now, last bit, here's the good news about these. Since the Mixolydian or dominant scale is a mode, and the Dorian minor scale is also a mode, if you memorize your major scales, you already know these. So, this C7, Mixolydian is the 5th mode of a major scale. So this is the exact same, this C7, C Mixolydian scale is the exact same scale as an F major scale, since it's the 5th of, C is the 5th of F, but you're just starting on C. So you know F major has one flat and it's a B flat. So if you just play a C major, start on C and play with one flat, you get a C7, C Mixolydian scale. Same thing with Dorian. Dorian is the 2nd mode of a major scale. So it's like you're playing a major scale starting on scale degree 2. So C is the 2nd note of the B flat scale. So if you just play a B flat scale starting on C, you get a C Dorian scale. So if you know your major scales and your modes, you know how to play all these already. But make sure you really understand how to play over these. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will catch you guys in the next video.